In the midst of the Israel-Hamas war, a 2 decades old letter said to be written by Osama bin Laden is stirring controversy and grabbing millions of views. Some have posted video clips on TikTok saying they sympathize with the terrorists who orchestrated the September 11th attacks. They linked to a letter published in 2002 by The Guardian, where bin Laden criticizes the U.S. government and its support for Israel and tries to justify the targeting and killing of American civilians. The White House called it an insult to victims of the 9/11 attacks. TikTok said any video, quote, supporting terrorism violates its policy, and added reports of it trending on the platform were inaccurate. The Guardian removed the link and linked instead to an article giving context to the letter, especially for younger readers who weren't alive during 9/11. Joining us now is Moustafa, the Executive Director at the Institute for Strategic Dialogue for Africa, the Middle East and Asia. Thanks so much for being here with us. So what's your theory about why so many people have suddenly latched onto bin Laden's speech? What's behind this resurgence in his heinous views?
Well, first of all, you have to look at the context. When we're looking at the conflict between Israel and Hamas, we've seen a deluge of disinformation, fake news, a number of things around this conflict online. What happened essentially was that there was a quote unquote, in the parlance of the internet, a noticing online, which was the resurgence and the resurrection of this letter. And from a single video posted on November 14th, we began seeing sort of a domino effect across social media platforms. And it was not just TikTok, and it was not just, quote unquote, a generation that did not understand the significance of 9/11. So instances and references to Letter to America, for instance, jumped over 4,300% in just 2 days, over 230,000 references. It was significant, 719 million impressions across platforms. It was not just one platform's failing.
Yeah. But you talk about the demographics here. I'm interested in this because, you know, 1/3 of adults under 30 regularly get their news from TikTok, and it's one of the main search engines for young people. And from watching some of these, you know, TikToks of people discovering this and reading sort of what they've been saying, it seems like for kids who were born before 9/11, many of them seem to be realizing for the first time, you know, that there was a historical context to the attack, which maybe says something about the framing of these types of events in school and what happens if we don't give students the full picture. They will find other sources and come to their own possibly misguided conclusions.
I mean, definitely requires education and understanding the full context of any conflict. That's why there's been so much disinformation around this conflict, is that there is a lack of context, whether it's popular media's framing of the conflict or whether it's within these online communities. So we really do need to adjust the way we understand conflicts and context outside of our own.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be said. I mean, his views expressed there were horribly anti-Semitic and aren't, don't go any substantive, don't lead to a substantive discussion of the context, really. But, young people still may feel that on social, they're not getting both sides of the conflict. Is that because, in certain circumstances, I mean, Israel has released so much information online hoping to frame the conflict on their terms? I mean, Israel's Foreign Affairs Ministry has run more than 100 ads on YouTube and X that have been seen millions of times, stirring moral outrage to build support for the war. So take us through sort of what you've been seeing and what's behind this.
Yeah, we've been seeing coordinated state operations, whether it's by the state of Israel or whether it's by other states such as Russia, Iran, and China, focused on the region, looking to exploit sort of the divides that exist globally between pro-Palestinian supporters and pro-Israel supporters, and expand that divide in order to create more friction and animosity online. It's not that there isn't a lack of animosity online. It is a very charged environment. We're similarly seeing neo-Nazis adopting and neo-Nazi communities online adopting Hamas talking points and sharing those online and generating hateful responses in regards to it. All of this is creating a charged atmosphere offline as well, where you have conspiracy circles claiming that Hezbollah and Hamas have infiltrated southern borders in the U.S., creating more fear, likely more violence. Remember, we've had murders off the back of a lot of the sort of rhetoric that's been spread by whether it's media, offline media, or whether it's online media. And it is now coming to a loggerhead.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, it's my last question, but I feel this is really important. What can we do as teachers, as parents, to cut through all the propaganda and make sure our children and young people are well informed with what's happening here?
We really need to have honest conversations with the young people about the context and what we are seeing online. Conflicts are incredibly hard topics to broach, especially when there's so much anger and disgust that people are feeling right now. The sort of charged nature of this conflict is incredibly difficult to sort of cut through, but one-to-one honest conversations that provide people with information about this conflict and what we are seeing online is what's needed.
All right, really appreciate your insights there, Moustafa. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.